gentlemen, please be upstanding. And Worshipful Mayor for the Borough of Wigan, Councillor Bill Clark.
Good evening, everyone. Can I welcome the Reverend Sam Nicholson to the meeting? Please remain standing while I ask her to say a few words before we start.
Good evening, everybody. As has just been said, I'm Reverend Sam Nicholson. I'm one of the vicars in Wigan. It's lovely to be here tonight. I'm just taking over from Reverend Dave Hamlet for this evening, and it's a privilege to come and pray for you and with you. Now, I know not everybody will have a faith or share my faith, but I know we share something really, really important, faith or no faith, that we want the best for our communities, the communities in which we have been called to serve. So first, a sentence from Scripture, which I think sums some of that up. But God has already made it plain how to live. It's quite simple. Do what is fair and just to your neighbour, and be compassionate and loyal in your love. Let us pray. Gracious God, we pray for the Mayor and this Council. We thank you for the women and men who serve you in this place. May we all work for the good of our people. May we have good discussions in this place, making wise and just decisions. In the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. And if you wish, join in with me as I finish by saying the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Right. We'll be seated. Members of the public are welcome and should be aware that they should not interrupt the proceedings. As this is the budget meeting and one of the most important meetings of the year, we need to give it our full concentration as we owe this to our residents when setting the council tax. All group leaders have been offered separate briefings about the budget, with 2 groups accepting this offer and 1 group declining. I also offered a private meeting with myself and the same group leader, and this was also declined. Sorry for that mix-up. Some of you may wish to discuss the recent publicity around the Bryn by-election. As we have received a threat of further legal challenge from an individual, I am unable to allow a discussion on this tonight. The rules of conduct for the meeting have been circulated in advance, and copies are on your seats. Apologies for absence.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We have the following apologies for this evening's council meeting. Councillor Ash, Councillor Carmichael, Councillor Davis, Councillor Hilton, Councillor Holland, Councillor Keane, Councillor Marie Morgan, Councillor Rumpling, Councillor Stewart and Councillor Whiteside. Are there any further apologies for this evening's meeting?
Councillor Rodman.
Councillor Whittingham.
Councillor Whittingham,
Councillor Rodman.
Councillor Rotherham. Any further apologies? Okay, thank you.
I move the acceptance of these as a correct record.
Wait a second, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Jones will be added to the attendance of the council meeting held on the 10th of January 2018. Can I put the minute to the vote and note the change to the minutes? All those in favour of accepting, please show. Thank you. Mayor's announcements. The death of former Mayoress Netta Sumner. It is with deep regret that I have to refer to the death of the former Mayoress Netta Sumner, who passed away on the 12th of February. Her funeral and committal took place at Howard Bridge Crematorium on the 27th of February. Netta was Deputy Mayoress in 1985-86 and Mayoress in 86-87 and supported her husband Jack whilst he was Mayor. I have written to the family that our thoughts go to them for their loss. Another sad announcement is the death of the Lady Mayoress of Manchester, Councillor Sheila Newman. It is also with deep regret that I refer to the death of the Lady Mayoress of Manchester. Councillor Sheila Newman passed away on the 18th of February. She was Executive Member for Children's Services and the Councillor for the Charlton area. I've written to the Lord Mayor to pass on condolences of the Council. I now invite members of the Council to pay tribute to the former Mayoress Netta Sumner and Lady Mayoress Councillor Sheila Newman. Anybody like to contribute? Liam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I knew Netta Sumner pretty well, and she was a good support to Jack when he was the mayor of the borough. And unusually, in those days, we had more activities around Wigan Pier. She had a barge at Canal Boat named after her, Netta, which took people around the site of the Wigan Pier. She'd been in poor health in recent years, and a son who told me about her sad loss said it was in a sense a mixed blessing that she was no longer suffering. So Netta did a good job at the council, and we should honour that. I didn't really know the Lady Mayoress of Manchester well, Mr. but I know that was a real shock. It must have been a shock to you and to the Mayoress, who've been working with her this year. It was totally out of the blue, and I know people of Manchester are very affected by that sudden occurrence. So he was right that we wrote on behalf of the council to express our condolences to the Lord.
Thank you. Anybody else? No, thank you. At this point, may I ask those present to stand for a moment as a mark of respect for Netta Sumner and Sheila Newman. Right, thank you. Declarations of interest. In accordance with guidance issued by the DCLG in September 2013, members who are council taxpayers, own properties or are tenants in the borough do not need to declare a DPI in the setting of the council tax, since these do not materially affect the interests of the land. Members should note their personal interests are the following: school governors, Wigan and Lee Housing Board, Inspiring Healthy Lifestyle board members, members of Transport for Greater Manchester, parish councillors, if any, Lee Sports Village, Manchester Airport, Development Company and Norfolk Property Services. Members are asked to consider other DPIs for the purpose of this meeting and any other personal or prejudicial interests, you will have to leave the room at the relevant part of the meeting. If there are any further declarations, then please fill out the relevant forms if you need to declare an interest at this meeting, and return them to Christine at the end of the meeting. Policy and budget framework. The Council's deal for the future and revenue of the Council framework. Members are asked to note that as this is the budget report, we are required by regulation to have a named vote on any motions and amendments to motions on this item. The Council is requested to consider the recommendations as set out on page 18 of the agenda. This report was considered by Cabinet at its meeting held on the 15th of February 2018. The views of scrutiny were also taken on board at the later meeting of the Cabinet that day. I now invite the leader to present the budget and to move all the recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is a presentation which is coming out any moment now, so thank you. Okay. What I'm trying to do tonight is to talk about the context in which we set the budget, the values that we hold in trying to determine what we do, the plan, the progress, and of course eventually to leading to what we're suggesting in the budget. Obviously, in the context, the most obvious one is the impact of austerity it's had on this particular borough, in fact, in many other places as well. Of course, since 2010, we've lost around about £300 per head of population in grant that we got. The council budget will have reduced by £131 million of grant that we once got. So that means cumulatively over the period of time, we've been lost that amount of money, £950 million. And the impact of inflation pressure continues, doesn't stop. And we estimate that's around about £6 million in any particular year. I just wanted to also put the context of the council tax. We'll talk about council tax and why we don't often understand it. This came about, for those of us long political memories, like Fred, because of the demise of the poll tax. And they were desperate to get something in that wasn't the poll tax. And Michael Heseltine came up with the council tax, 1991. And so we had a system as a property tax based upon valuations in different categories. So basic bands A to H, and the values that were put on them in 1991. On the far right of the slide, you see in Wigan, you see the proportion of properties are in the A and B bands. Only 52 houses in the upper bands in 1991. But the slight madness in the scheme, of course, is they've never changed the valuation since 1991. So if anybody here lives in a house that was built since 1991, the district value has to pretend what would it have been worth had it been built in 1991. Because far more houses in Wigan would now be selling for over £300,000, but we go back to these 1991 values, so it's not much of a science. Okay, and this just shows you that in a different chart. I'm going to get copies of these so you can see it for yourself. Okay. On top of the council tax, there's a precept system where people can add on to the council tax from outside. The main ones that we have are the police, and the government has put no more money into Greater Manchester to any police service, not just Greater Manchester. Police have not got any more funding from central government in this year, despite the increase in problems of terrorism, despite the increase in problems of community policing. They've not had a penny more. But what they did do is they allowed us to put a precept of additional £12. You'll see later, but that figure is on Band D. I already talked about Band D, probably, so that's £12 Band D. So that's the police. Fire, we managed to get fire budget frozen this year, so they didn't put anything else on. They had a massive underspend anyway, they didn't need it. And of course, now we have a Greater Manchester Mayor, Then there's an additional mayoral precept that comes in at £8. There's also this so-called adult social care precept. Now, it's not a precept in the traditional time, but it's what the phrase that the government used to describe the fact, again, they don't put any more money into social care, but they expect it to come out of council tax. It's a 3% figure, and in Wigan's case here, Andy, that's about £37.50 to everyone's bill. Now, why don't I like the council tax very much? It's the most regressive tax there is. This chart, hopefully, you can see on the left-hand side shows the bottom 10% of earners. They pay 8% of their income on council tax, whereas the richest 10% pay under 2% of their income in council. So it's gross, even though they may live in bigger properties, higher value properties, at the end of the day, they're paying a smaller proportion. And this was one of the facts that drove us as a council to commit, as part of the deal, not to raise council tax, because it's so unfair. But it's unfair in another way. Do you remember that chart I showed you about the proportion of properties in the lower bands in Wigan? Well, of course, if you think about Richmond-on-Thames or Windsor-Maiden, that's what the Prime Minister's constituency, in case anybody forgot, Oxfordshire, they've got far more properties in those higher bands who pay more council tax. So 1% increase in the council tax there brings them in more money than it does in a typical northern working class town like Wigan, with all the properties in the lower band. So in a sense, we're losing out there.
If you're from an ordinary working class family, life is much harder than many people in Westminster realise. You have a job, but you don't always have job security. You have your own home, you worry about paying the mortgage. You can just about manage, but you worry about the cost of living and getting your kids into a good school. If you're one of those families, if you're just managing, I want to address you directly. I know you're working around the clock. I know you're doing your best, and I know that sometimes life can be a struggle. The government I lead will be driven not by the interests of the privileged few, but by yours. We will do everything we can to give you more control over your lives. When we take the big calls, we'll think not of the powerful, but you. When we pass new laws, we'll listen not to the mighty, but to you. When it comes to taxes, we'll prioritise not the wealthy, but you. When it comes to opportunity, we won't entrench the advantages of the fortunate few. We will do everything we can to help everybody, whatever your background, to go as far as your talents will take you.
I think that's enough of that. When it comes to taxes, we'll think about you, just about managing and not Richard. What have they done? In a single year, they've loaded council tax, which is the most regressive tax. So the poor are paying more of their incomes than the rich are in these two schemes, the adult social care precepts, the policing costs. They're coming out of the income of the poorest of the population. I don't think she's lived up to the promise. What we're trying to do in Wigan is build upon the deal that we began to work on about 5 years ago now. It's now the deal for the future, looking forward to where we're continuing to work to transform our services, we'll talk about that later, to grow the borough, to get more money in through more council tax, through more homes and through business rates, particularly to form this new relationship with our residents and communities. That's really important. And to do what we can, we didn't want to go around slashing services in this period of austerity. We wanted to keep as much for the people of Wigan that we felt was necessary. And we've had a pretty good success in doing all of this. First one, which of course we ought to be doing, is people think we're doing a better job now than they did in 2010. So despite the cuts, we've actually got that. We've had a number of awards. I'm going to go through that. Fourth one down there, don't forget, 9 million invested into the community under Chris's leadership, and we've got some fantastic representatives of those groups who've received SIF, and you all know in your own wards the work that they do, supporting the community, absolutely fantastic. We increased recycling. Remember last year we were going to say there were going to be rats running across the streets, flighting everywhere. None of that's happened, and the hard work that we put into Kevin and his team to do that is one of the stronger. We've got the best staff, and this is almost one of our secret ingredients, the fact that we have a really good and committed staff who work with us. Our children's services related good. Not many places can say that. We got the Duke of York's idea working well. One day you may visit us, depending on the weather. Reduced delays in hospitals, so best performing in Britain. And again, the deal for the streets, one of our innovation awards. Got lots to be proud of the things that we've done. During the year, we've had a peer review, came to have a look at us from senior people from local governments across the country. And again, they were very favourably impressed with the deal and what it's achieved. They really thought we got something, and said, as I say to Boston, carry on doing that deal. It's the best example they could come up with, engagement with the community, working with the council, changing council culture, and establishing a better relationship between citizens, people, and the council. We get good reports from our auditors. So again, that's a great testimony to the way we work. We've kept that good record of financial health that we've had for a long time in this council. Okay. And even the Mayor President thinks that we're doing a good job, would like us to be replicated across the country. So what I want to do now is come to perhaps the nitty-gritty of what we do in the budget. We've got the detail of the various plans there, but I just want to emphasise some of the elements of that. So it's the 5th year now of the deal, and the 5th year then we've kept our promise of freezing council tax. The asset-based approach that we've taken with running services has helped us deliver a balanced budget in adult social care. We've continued to invest in the community and try to get Chris on, but I said, okay, Chris, you're doing such a good job. You can have another £1 million this year to work with the community. So we think the community is doing such a good job of putting more on that. Working with families, again, we're going to put another £500,000 into those family-based services. David is responsible for apprenticeship. He tells us how important they are. We have the young people come into this organisation, help to shake us up, help to think in different ways, brought new energy into it. So we're increasing that from 120, which is already one of the highest in GM. We'll put another 20 in next year. We know we need to improve town centres, so we use the money that we get through the airport dividend, so we're investing in the galleries in Wakeland. David just announced that, and we've committed to the changes in the league that's going on. All members have been approached, I think, about the way that the winter is affecting our roads. I'd just like to say, they're not good in Wales in lots of places, are they? But if you go outside, you find them a lot worse. However, that's not an excuse. It's not good enough just to say that. So I've talked to the right people, and we're going to put another £500,000 into that budget to help get rid of some of those potholes and make sure our pavements are up to standard too. So we do that. We know that we need to do more on housing, particularly getting some of the brownfield sites up and running. So definitely and I thought about this, and we thought if we could put a little bit more money into helping to get those small local schemes out which will have a social purpose, so we could justify putting some money into it, then it will help local businesses as well as help people who need new property. And as people know, I do have responsibility for health across GM, and it's not been a good winter for health overall. There are two shining lights in this for me. What's happened is that, first of all, as we said earlier, in Wigan, the working of the social care staff with CCG and hospital staff means that we have the lowest figure for discharge across GM. So people don't spend longer in hospital than they need to do. They can get home into the community and get the support that they need. That's good news. The second reason is talking to one of Stuart's colleagues, Sharon Barber, with a small amount of money, the impact that she and the team have had in terms of working in care home. Actually to reduce the number of people from that care home who end up in A&E. Because if you can support them in the care home before they need to go to the hospital, we're saving money for the NHS, saving admissions into A&E. So in discussion, I'd like to see some more money going into that to help to get a better programme to keep people out of the hospital or having the right appropriate amount of care and support. So that's another proposition. So what does that mean for Wigan? There's the figures for council tax for the particular bands. You can see the first column is our demands, then the presets for social care, and into the police, fire, mayoral, and that's the total amount in each of the columns. And you can see how we, this chart, with our colleagues across Greater Manchester, and you see that some have put on the maximum amount, which is just under 3%. Wigan stands out as the one that's put nothing. Please, the local president, as well for that particular thing. So we've got those great quotes that people think it is good that we go to the council. This clip shows some of the work that's done by our
It wasn't sunshine days, I'd still be stuck up, I'd still be just this depressed little person, they didn't know friends, no one to talk to, and now I'm more confident, I'm learning more skills, I'm doing courses, I'm meeting people every day, and it's really nice to meet them. I always class myself as a fucking alcoholic, with the featuring there, start talking, and that's what it is. I didn't take it. And you should really know. Seriously, I have to talk to you. This place is paramount to my whole community and your making plans for the future. It's changed everything. I'm much more open, I'm much more willing to people.
Meet Liam, a self-employed assistant head chef at Sunshine House. Liam first came to the centre as a result of the community service policing earlier this year.
I was unemployed before Sunshine House. I've been employed for like 3 years. My mum was away 3 years ago. I just went into like really like depression. Needed to be trying to stay nothing was working. Sadly, I lost my job as a junior driver. I couldn't really get over. My mum was still away. Meeting all these new people, I was just boosting my confidence. And I just couldn't really, I found myself coming early at like days at work just because I was working.
Alan self-medicated with alcohol for a very long time. He was told about Greenslade Farm and he sought help for problems with had actions. He's been here and sober for 9 months.
I couldn't have done this a year ago. you know, to run away with the game. I was there, so I went on 2 days on there, and then when somebody brought me back together again, because they were being savvy to lose, even though I had less time managers. But in a sense, it was just somewhere in the land madness inside of us. I know that it's not hard, this place has to be done for the league. It's given me a sense of achievement. You know, I'm building the fences, building the chicken coop. I'm learning things that I didn't think were possible for me. They're not probably not making to roll right now, it's been massive.
Okay, let's call my colleagues in to make their announcements of what they've achieved in the priorities.
Yeah, thanks for that, Leader. It's been a good year in terms of what we've gone in there to deliver. We're going to deliver. If anybody attended the expo in October this year, that was the biggest expo in the Northwest, and certainly the biggest expo we've ever had. The stalls sold out, and we had over 180 businesses there, all the new businesses, people in Wigan, and many visitors. And it's a big thing for us in terms of what we can offer as a borough. It's so important for us to tell the message about Wigan, about what Wigan has to offer as a borough in terms of business development, in terms of business retention. And the expo goes a long way to doing that. The leader spoke in his address about brownfield sites. And I think what was disappointing at the weekend, we had a great launch by the government about stuff on planning. And it is right that we need to get people who are sitting on sites to start to deliver them. And that more houses are needed to be built. Certainly for young people, growing families need to be built. And it's very difficult to get developers now to keep pushing that because we need to see that. But the biggest disappointment in there was brownfield sites. Nothing on brownfield sites. And when you start thinking of places like Wigan and what we've got to deliver in terms of quality of sites, brownfield sites have an important impact on what we deliver. And we're going to do something about it as a council, certainly with the brownfield sites that are in our ownership. And we want to bring those to developers, to get them developed and give people a chance of affordable housing. Significant process. One of the things that you do get complaints about in Wigan, we all know, we all like sitting in traffic, not a lot, but certainly we need to get Wigan on the move. We've now got the money, we've now got the planning permission certainly on the A49, we need to appoint the contractor and that will start this year and we need to get that done as soon as we can. We know for a fact from the last council meeting certain place was spun incorrectly about the M58. I can assure you the M58 is now got the funding in place. The planning permission will be dealt with shortly and we need to deliver that. And one thing that anybody who uses public transport, I encourage you all to do it, the bus station is well on track. A £15 million investment in the centre of town shows about the people's confidence certainly in what Wigan has got to offer. Refreshing the economic prospect. We're still sticking to it. We want to see the creation of 10,000 new jobs within that lifetime of the economic prospectus, 12,000 apprentices. We've made that commitment tonight that we as a council will take on 20 more apprentices. Can you imagine if we got that sort of percentage increase across companies within Wigan? Every young person then will have a chance of a proper training, proper apprenticeship, giving them the opportunities that they need in life. And it's so much because of you guys committing yourselves to doing this a few years ago that we set a standard that we can say to people, we're doing it, we want you to do it. So it's a big thank you to you guys for supporting on that. Town Centre, I think somebody said their monetary policy, I've not got it, not me personally. But we're now going to take over because the town centre, particularly Wigan and Leigh, are very important to the people of the borough. It's important to see thriving town centres throughout the borough. And the opportunities that we now have to do something with the galleries that improve the offer that people have coming into our town centre is something that we're really keen to see happen. Development of growth and skills. We've touched on the fact about apprenticeships. I think it's more important than ever that we get businesses to sign up to our deal for businesses. It's so important that we create opportunities for employment. It's so important that we retain the jobs that we've got, because it's so important to people's lives to have a job and the prospects that that brings. And we're going to make sure that we push that to deliver that. And then to give that a growth strategy, to offer sites that will entice people to come into the town. That is what we need to do, and that's the opportunity that we want to give. Please, when you support this budget tonight, remember it's about growth as well. And we need to do that, and in line with our business partners who sit on the forward board, we will create opportunities for people to get employment and the correct skills with our training partners to make sure that we can deliver. So I'd like to say this year has been about growth, it's been about doing jobs, it's been about interest in Wigan, it's been about improving the infrastructure, and it's been about getting Wigan on the move. So I recommend what we've done so far. It's not too bad, but we intend to carry on with this in the years to come. Thank you.
I'm pleased to share with colleagues this evening some of the achievements during the year for our children's services, and also looking forward to share with you some of our priorities. I'm really pleased to say, and the leader has alluded to this, that when children's services had an Ofsted inspection during the last year, they were one of only a few local authorities across the country to retain, they'd had one before, a good judgment, but they retained that good judgment. And it is a very tough framework that we are inspected against. And overall, 90% of our schools, in addition, continue to be, are judged to be judged, 90% of our schools in Wigan are judged to be good or better by Ofsted. And this is compared to 85% nationally. Within that children's services inspection, our adoption service was deemed in the report to be outstanding. And while I'm talking about adoption, I'll just mention during last year the launch of Together for Adoption. And this is one of the first regional adoption agencies to go live. And Wigan is the host, which is great for us, because it means that by working in partnership with other authorities across the North West, we can widen our pool for future adopted parents. And something else that's mentioned in our achievements this year are the school readiness figures, which have gone up to 70% from 55%. Now, the school readiness figure, which is reporting children who reach a good level of development through their early years and then are assessed in reception class for school readiness. And this indicates often the success, the potential success in the future as they go through school. So that's good that we have this indicator, and it's actually gone up this year, so that's good news for our children as they start school. And just commenting about our older children, they've done something wonderful within their democratic life. 40% of them, or more than 40% votes went up in the Make Your Mark ballot this year. Many of our schools and colleges were involved in this ballot, and it's a great opportunity for young people in the secondary sector, because they can identify the kinds of issues that they want to debate through the year. And we'll be seeing some of that debate in the autumn during Democracy Week. And finally, in this section, I'd just like to talk to you about the achievement of our 30 hours pilot, 30 hours childcare. We were invited onto the pilot scheme for this 2 years ago, and the work that Wigan did was very much acknowledged by DFE, and in fact on occasion during the year our Wigan officers were invited to go into other local authorities and help them in their implementation. Following this pilot and early implementation, we've now last September gone into the full rollout of the 30 hours of childcare. And this again, after the pilot, doing it for real, it has gone really, really well. And a couple of weeks ago, a government minister came up to look at what we were doing on this, in this area. And apparently when he went back to Westminster, he couldn't stop talking about what was going on in Wigan. So that's good for our staff who work so hard in making all of this possible. Also, within early years, 2 of our outstanding nursery schools are leading practice. They've set up exemplary learning environments, both indoors and outdoors, and these are being used as training establishments to help all those offering early years services, whether it's in our schools, in our nurseries, or in the private and voluntary sector early years service. Further to our working schools, we've had during this year an important development in system leadership in the setting up of the Wigan Education Partnership. Schools are working collaboratively across all the sectors, early years, primary, secondary and special. And they're working together, as I say, in partnership, in collaboration, to shape the future for our education services and ensure that we have excellence in our provision. And just hot off the press, and it's not noted on the screen, but you may have seen in the national press during the last couple of weeks a lot of disappointed parents across the country because their children haven't got into the school of their choice, and this has been causing quite a lot of discontent. However, I'm really pleased to tell you that in the borough, 99% of the parental preference has been met for our secondary schools for September 2018, 99%. So I think that's a real achievement. So moving forward then and looking at our priorities for children's services and where some of the budget has been set for, we have first of all the second phase of our start plan. After further public and staff consultation, we're moving into start phase 2, which will further transform the services for our young children and their families. Because what we're hoping to do in this phase 2 is to engage staff and partners from Bridgewater so that the important element of health can be included in the support for our children and their families from a very, very early age. And this will be the best possible start for them. The second bullet point there on the priorities refers to SEN and disability SEND, and the demand for this service has increased considerably. That's one thing. The second thing is that our special school buildings are not really best placed for the current provision and those demands. So we've begun a rethink on how best to service special needs and disabilities, both within the special and the mainstream sector. Furthermore, we can again supporting our most vulnerable children and young people by increasing the number of foster carers. A big recruiting campaign has gone on, and this is so that children can be placed in empathetic families where they can thrive. And this also means looking at new delivery models for support of our foster carers, the new ones that we're recruiting but also the foster carers that have been working with us for many years, as they're often caring for children with very complex emotional and mental health needs. And in addition, we're to integrating the multi-agency safeguarding board match, as we call it, integrated with children's social care duty team and the early help service, and this is providing a much more integrated support. And we're working more on this to provide integrated support for our most vulnerable children and young people. And finally, because we're not complacent in children's services, because we are aspirational, so that we're looking always to improve, to do things better. I'd like to acknowledge the hard work and commitment of all the officers in children's services. And what we say to sort of demonstrate that aspiration is we say we're going to make our good into understanding this year.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's important that when we look at adult social care and health across the borough, the situation we're facing and the leader outlined the difficulty we're in. I think at the start of austerity, the Institute of Fiscal Studies identified that Wigan was the third worst hit authority in the country as a result of austerity. So bearing that in mind, some of the things that the leader referred to earlier, where 1% of our budget brings in far less than 1% of the budget of Surrey, for instance. So I think 3% in terms of social care, ring fence to social care brings about £3.5 million into Wigan. It brings about £24 million into Surrey. And also Surrey have the advantage of having the Chancellor of the Exchequer in their area, and they can ring him up and get a £15 million sweetheart deal like they did last year. But I think bearing in mind and setting the scene for that, I'd just like to make a couple of quotes from people. So there's a quote here, but what I do know is that councils across the country are picking up the pieces of Whitehall's failure to properly invest in services that care for our communities. A quote from, not Jeremy Corbyn, Lord Porter of Spalding, who is the Conservative chair of the Local Government Association. I'll give you another quote. In reference to the £2 billion that was put into social care in the budget and the ability of councils to raise council tax to address social care, this person referred to them as sticking plasters that will not prevent the social care funding gap reaching £2.3 billion by 2020. Quote from John McDonnell, perhaps, the Shadow Chancellor? No, it's a quote from Councillor Izzy Seacombe, who is the leader of Warwickshire County Council, the Conservative leader of Warwickshire County Council, and is the chair of the Local Government Association Community Wellbeing Board. So when you take into consideration what those people are saying, some of our achievements are actually quite remarkable. And how have we made those achievements? We've done it by working differently. So adult social care has changed and transformed over the last few years, using an asset-based approach to have a different conversation with people. And when you start to have a different conversation, when you start to talk to people about what they can do and what they do rather than what they can't do, you start to come up with different solutions. And knowing our community better by investing in community knowledge officers within us, within our organisation, and community link workers based in primary care and GP practices. That knowing our community better and connecting people with the community is having a significant impact. And part of it is around the attitudes and behaviours of staff. It's about the three principles we have about being positive, being accountable and being courageous. And really enforcing that within them. And we've seen the co-location of teams, and the leader referred to it in some of the work that's going on in community services and the good work that's going on there. But the big thing that is improving the attitude and behaviours of staff is that by giving staff permission, by giving them the freedom to redesign services, to be innovative, has ensured that we have, within adult social care, an energetic, motivated staff who feel that they can make a real contribution and a change. And so what are the achievements? Well, over the last few years, and sometimes you think some of these changes in public health have a long-term effect over 25, 30 years. But actually, we've seen healthy life expectancy in some of the most deprived areas in this borough increase by 7 years. We have the only outstanding reablement service in the country. Inspected by the CQC and given that grading of outstanding, the only one in the country. Over 75% of people who get reablement do not require ongoing further formal support in terms of home care. So over 75% of people who get reablement from our outstanding service do not require any further ongoing formal social care support. And what do we have in the borough? Recently, figures were produced about care home quality, the quality of care homes. And generally in Greater Manchester, it's not all that good. What have we done? We've gone from 52% good or above to 82% in 18 months. We are the third fastest improved care home quality in the country. And that's been achieved over the last 18 months. Our directly delivered services, the services that we provide as a council, our in-house services, our supported living service, and our supported living service was inspected by CQC and the report was produced only this last week. Every service that we provide internally, in-house, by Wigan Council, is rated good or outstanding. Every single service we provide. And we talk about, we hear a lot of things about bed blocking, social care, keeping people in hospital, and can't get people out because of social care. What we've done in terms of integrated discharge teams, working with our partners in health, working with our partners in the community NHS, and our services in terms of social work, Wigan is the best in the North West and 5th nationally in terms of delayed transfers of care, that idea about bed blocking. So we're actually performing far better than any other authority in the North West, and we are 5th in the country. And when you hear those quotes from the Tory leader of the Local Government Association, the Tory leader of Warwickshire, about the difficulties that adult social care is faced with, and we read stories about it's in crisis, it's at a cliff edge. How have we achieved that? We've achieved it because of the way we changed the way we provide services. And so we are one of the only councils in the country where the adult social care budget is in balance. Many people are looking at cuts in adult social care despite the increases in government funding and despite the ability to raise council tax. We're still looking at cutting services. What are we looking to in Wigan? We're looking to invest £1.5 million more in adult social care next year because we have had a balanced budget, we have not had to prop it up by the use of reserves, and we have managed that process but also improved services in the way that I just described. So some of our priorities for going forward. We have to support young people's transition to adult life. And it's a thing about young people and children who have a disability or disabled or a learning disability or physical disability or whatever. But the transition to adult life needs to be much better planned to enable people to maintain the maximum amount of independence that we can. And we're developing a housing for health programme. Nobody ever gets older and says, when I end my days, I want it to be in a residential or nursing home. I don't think anybody ever says that. And so what we're seeking to do is develop far more supported housing, far more housing with extra care. And I think we've estimated that over the next few years we probably need, because of the changing age profile and demographic change within the borough, across the borough about 1,000 extra places of extra care housing, supported housing. And it's interesting that today I'm talking about that, because 5 years ago, 2013, we were going through the process of proposing the closure of the Pines, if people remember that, and a big campaign to save the Pines. Fortunately, this group, the Labour group, could see the vision and could see the opportunities that arrived as a result of that. A lot of the opposition here today weren't here then. I think it was Councillor Jamie Hodgkinson, Councillor Braley, Councillor George Fairhurst, and of course Councillor James Grundy, who at the time after the meeting said, "You almost convinced me and I nearly didn't vote against you," but in actual fact he did. But it's interesting because the Pines was a residential home for people with a learning disability. It was built in the 70s. It was poor accommodation. It was a single room for individuals with shared toilets and bathrooms down the corridor and a 40-odd-year-old building. And what we proposed to do was close that but provide supported housing. Those people moved into Upper Dickinson Street, a lot of them. Not into a room, but into their own apartment as tenants. And what really came about as a result of that was the improvement in people's lives, the connections with community, their involvement. And actually, all the staff will tell you how much those people progress by living in their own apartment, with their own front door, with their own bedroom, with their own bathroom, with their own lounge, with their own kitchen. And we've moved on since then, because we also developed, through Wigan and Lee Housing as it was at the time, Tanfield. 19 purpose-built flats for people with learning disability. And not only that, providing 24/7 care within there by our services, but actually that saves us about £600,000. So saving money doesn't mean making things worse. And the way those people have progressed. Now, when I shut the Pines, and why I refer to it is, in the last week, because when we closed the Pines, I said, the site, I hope that we can ring-fence for services, adult care services for people with learning disabilities. And I went up last week, and there is a brand new, purpose-built 12 apartments for people with autism. It contains all the latest assistive technology that if anybody's been up to the Endcliffe will go to see. Top of the range stuff. High quality accommodation for people with a learning disability. And that was the vision several years ago, and it's been brought into reality. And people with a learning disability who moved out of residential care into that housing with support, their lives have changed significantly. And I think it's a great credit to this council and those opposition members who didn't support it at the time was now regret that they didn't, but I really do thank the Labour group here for supporting that vision of what could be achieved. And the next thing we really need to start to develop, and a part of our priorities, is embedding those deal behaviours that I've said about an asset-based approach, about having a different conversation, about giving people permission and freedom to redesign and be innovative, to give your staff that opportunity to motivate them and energise them. And it's around embedding that, not just across adult social care and children's social care within the council, but embedding it across the NHS. And through the Healthier Wigan Partnership, our health and care teams working with GPs in the 7 localities, in the 7 areas in a place-based way, give us the opportunity to really improve people's health and well-being. One of the things I talk about when I talk to GPs is, if you've got a young child with asthma, it doesn't matter how good the clinical care is, you can give them the best clinical care as often as you want, the highest quality drugs. If the house is damp, it's no good, is it? And so issues of fuel poverty, where 3,000 people every year die from hypothermia. It's not a health input, but to be working through GPs, through primary care, working with housing, working with fuel poverty is why people die of hypothermia. So it's not a clinical issue, it's a matter of dealing with the issues. And the other interesting thing is, the chances of premature death, if you're obese, are increased by 30%. Your chances of premature death, if you're socially isolated and lonely, is increased by 50%.
Councillor, can you just finish his point, because we need to move on?
Yeah, fine. Let's come to the end. So in fact, changing the way we work, connecting people with communities, working in places, is having a big effect. And that's our priorities for the forthcoming year. And I hope, unlike in the past, that the opposition now entirely agree with this direction of travel that we're moving in. Thank you.
Thank you. The Environment Directorate has been working hard over the last 12 months to deliver its vision for our local environment, which is to inspire pride and deliver safe, clean and green communities. We look at our achievements over the last 12 months. First, I want to say a big thank you to residents, staff and members for helping to increase recycling rates. Our recycling rate has significantly increased since the introduction of the new collection regime. It is well on target to exceed 50%. The target set by central government, as residents support the deal by recycling right and recycling more, helping the council save millions of pounds. I also need to make reference to fly tipping. We have bucked the trend on fly tipping, as our latest figures indicate a 35% reduction in fly tipping reports across the borough, thanks to our proactive approach and the introduction of a new environmental enforcement and education team. Work is taking place to prevent fly tipping at a number of key hotspot areas in the borough, including the installation of additional fencing and barriers and the use of CCTV technology. The environmental enforcement team took all types of environmental crime, including fly tipping, littering and dog fouling, and they're working 7 days a week so it can deal with issues over the weekend. They are also trying the latest CCTV camera technology, which will further help them to gather evidence to catch offenders. This week also sees the Directorate promoting the Great British Spring Clean by supporting over 30 community groups with various initiatives, with the key aim of tying a large number of the borough's litter hotspots, which will have a massive impact on the cleanliness of our streets and green spaces. This initiative is an excellent example of the spirit of the deal of our residents and council working together to achieve a common objective. Move on now to the Atmosphere, Water and Deal for Your Street experience. This is having a really positive impact on communities and staff and the culture within the authority. I'll be extending an invitation to all members in due course to experience the Deal for Your Street. We've been extremely successful as well in securing over £10 million of funding to support the local highway infrastructure to ensure that we continue to deliver improved asset condition, performance and resilience and value for money. The key investments comprise of nearly £4 million for the Department for Transport, Highways Capital Maintenance Allocation, undertaking the delivery of annual highway infrastructure programme planned maintenance works. £1.25 million worth from the DFT Challenge Fund for major refurbishment of 2 bridge structures on the A50 East Lancashire Road. Over £3 million, council derived funding to complete the final phase of the street lighting borough-wide LED programme. Over £750 million from the DCLG to repair damage caused to highway infrastructure as a direct consequence of Storm Eva. This includes through our resilience to deal with similar future events. And over £800,000 from the DCLG for the funding grant to address additional identified highway infrastructure as a direct response to Storm Eva. This includes improving our resilience to deal with similar events. I also need to make reference to an excellent example achieved in regulatory services. Following concerns raised recently by Dublin residents, Community Alcohol Partnership has been established, which involves residents, local retailers, council services, police and the local high school working together to address issues. The aim of this partnership are to reduce incidents of underage alcohol sales, reduce property purchasing and general adult supply of alcohol to under 18s, reduce antisocial behaviour associated with alcohol consumption, improve the health of young people by education of the risks associated with drinking alcohol, and develop a responsible retail partnership with local alcohol retailers. We also introduced a similar scheme in Hingley in the borough in 2013, which has proved to be a success in reducing alcohol-related issues with children increasing resident satisfaction. It's important to note we're going to see all the borough in Greater Manchester to introduce this kind of partnership. Moving on to priorities for the next 12 months. We will continue to work with communities to improve environmental compliance, further increasing recycling rates, continue to build self-reliance in our communities, and improving the quality of our roads. And I welcome the extra investment announced by the leader earlier. Through regulation enforcement to ensure our local streets are clean, safe and well maintained. And finally, to ensure our operational services are high performing and continue to demonstrate value for money. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You'll be glad to I'll be brief. I think if we can just probably see the Wigan Evening Post tomorrow night, it might say something like Councillor Molyneux's bought the Grant Arcade and the leaders give Councillor Reedy £1 million. I think in the words of Donald Trump that might be fake news. I welcome the announcement that the leaders said we're putting more money to SIT, and we could speak all night to SIT and the success that it's been. And actually we've just been meeting community groups and they're the success of what it's been made. So this year we'll have put 10 million into communities. What an achievement when our other councils are cutting back on everything else. I think that's a credit to everybody in this chamber and to everybody inside in communities. A few comments that community groups said to me regular, and these are their words because actually they're leading the way and everybody can speak to them. They see it now as a real true partnership with the council. And over the years gone by, that's probably not been the case if we're being honest. It's been really successful because of the work that they do. And I think probably the key elements to that is strong leadership that we've got in here, and that's Donna, the leader, the deputy leader who pushes forward. We've got excellent staff here, fabulous staff who actually go the extra mile, and it's more than just a job. We've been talking about that there. And there are excellent community ambassadors out there who really do make that difference. It's been a difficult year in the office and people don't see behind the scenes. So we've had Nicola Root, who's kind of led the teams on maternity leave. We've had a couple of staff who've left. And the reason they've left is because they're so successful in the community team that people see them across the council, and it really is a step up for them that people want them in bigger and better jobs. They don't want to be, but naturally the opportunities there because of the success that they've done in there. So to replace people like that has become difficult. And I didn't want to single people out here, but I think the work that Lynn Hankey's done with that team, and Don works very closely with her, it is unbelievable because she's kept it all together, and sometimes burning the midnight oil trying to get all that deal stuff together, because the communities now expect us to deliver and deliver on time schedules for them and support them. So it's, I think I'm not going to read all that slide, and that's it. We've brought more money back in than we've put out, and that's there for everybody to see. The crowdfunder has been such a big success what we've done here. It's absolutely fabulous. Everyone, I think, has reached the target in our power, so we're going to be pushing that out further. And somebody said, why are you doing crowdfunding when you've got SIT? Because we don't know how long we're going to be able to fund that way. So we've got alternative ways. Crowdfunding has been so successful, it saved us so much money put through SIP because we're oversubscribed. It's that popular now. We're oversubscribed every year on SIP. So the crowdfunding, we can point people towards that. We've just done some work with the bridges at Allerton, and we went out to the councillors and met them, and they just reached the target for something they would have actually come to us for money to do, and they've done that because it's such a popular group and it's successful. We've got the Borough Partnership, which we've got now, the Community Partnership, which is really working solid there through and strong leadership. And what we did is brought a funding manager in, Tracy, to actually look at them groups to find funding elsewhere within for communities out there rather than coming out of our pockets, so we know that. I've got to pay a bit of credit to Councillor Marshall and Councillor Mooney because we can't cross them over, and Joanne's done some extra work on the in blue, and Jim's doing some work on that with on the blue, so really it's like a combined effort in cabinet now that we kind of cross over quite a lot, so it's kind of all our kind of jobs in a way. But I think we're just going to finish with some of the stuff that communities do and what we've seen by they link up. I'm just going to make 2 examples. I could probably talk all night about all the community groups we usually talk about. But I was talking to Frank, who runs the bridge at Lee, and they've just linked up with Greengrass at Hagfold, providing them with food. And I spoke to Lynn, and she said it's absolutely unbelievable the success that it's had. That actually bringing some cash in, actually supporting the Dubrava community. I think that's brilliant. And I mean, we talk about Fairfield so much. We think they've been going about 20 years, and they've only been going since 2015. It's just remarkable what they've done. But they're now linking in with something like 35, it might be more groups, and distributing food across the borough, which I think is absolutely fabulous. The way that, and hopefully this year we might become a waste-free borough. I think we're getting very close to it with the composter and everything that they do. So I think really for me, it's a big thank you to the leader and everything that we've supported through SAFE and done that. But I think a big thank you to the communities out there who have made this different. They took the challenge, gone away and ran with it, and actually made it a massive success. So hopefully we get more bids in this year, more innovative ideas, and let's move forward and show what it can be done. And one thing, I was talking to my colleague last night, Councillor Conway, we had the occasional glass of wine in his house. Still anytime he ever buys a drink, but that's another story. And he's just been on a reunion with the mayors, because he was the mayor last year, and he said, naturally they're all having a drink and a chat, and he said the only thing they wanted to talk about was the deal, community investment funding. And really, what they was kind of saying to Ron, and I'm probably to tell people, it was more an embarrassment for them that we're going to do so well. They hadn't, and they wanted to know the secret of how that's happened. So I suppose they had Ron on the rails trying to get the answers out of it. But I'm sure he's sorted. But I think that just tells you that's across the board. Everybody's talking about Wigan and what we've done and how we've created communities and how people work together. Thanks, Mr. Mark.
That's quite right, Councillor, because I've been around a number of authorities and I've been asked the same question. How does the deal work?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my pleasure tonight to talk about housing, but in some respects it isn't, because we have a housing crisis. So I just thought I'd alert some members to what we're faced with. And the architects of our current housing crisis are the Tories, because they've been in power for 7 years. And they've even admitted to this housing crisis in their own white paper. And we now have home ownership at a 30-year low. We have the lowest ever number of new social housing being available for rent. And we have a homelessness figure that has doubled, not least because of the discriminate welfare reforms that have been condemned by a number of international and national organisations, not least some of our own locally. So the government's procrastination and blatant indifference over the last 7 years to the housing crisis and their white paper, for me, comes a little bit too late, and for many people in this borough. We are, as a council, having to operate within the confines of a bureaucratic fiscal straitjacket that currently provides opportunities for developers to control the supply and demand of new builds, which has overinflated the housing market and pricing out many local residents. This has led, in some respects, the rapid expansion of the often under-regulated private rented sector, with a small but significant number providing substandard living conditions for the working poor and benefits. However, there's some light at the end of the tunnel. Despite these limitations, this Labour Council, with funding from the HRA, by 220, and it's been touched on tonight in several places, will have invested approximately £20 million in 182 housing units, comprising of those in general housing, autism friendly, as Keith touched on, and older people's care with extra care facilities. We've also identified a further 16 million for the 150 similar units, and I think we should commend that and the work that's being done within that section. But unfortunately, no, this will only scratch the surface. Our ability to raise funding to build council houses has been and is still severely restricted and is in desperate need of reform, and that's what the white paper should be looking to do. Now, there has been some changes, as you know, and we've now got the integration of Wigan and Leo's back into the council. So there will be some efficiencies, and it will enable us to work smarter and better for our tenants. And so to do that, we've embarked on a number of key service reviews, not least in plant maintenance and day-to-day repairs, and we will see them come through the new housing panel over the next 12 months to 2 years. Hopefully we'll drive out efficiencies, which will mean we can invest more into our existing stock and services for our tenants. But I just wanted to touch on something what took place in November. We recognise that a small number of residents and our tenants were unaware of the extra financial support they could receive from the council. So we undertook what we called a winter award drive to identify residents and those tenants who may have been eligible for housing benefit, council tax reduction, discretionary housing payments, council tax refunds, discounts and exemption awards. And through this process, we reviewed about 1,000 residents, and as a result of that, more than £250,000 in unclaimed council tax reduction was awarded to residents who needed it most. This is in addition to the £5.2 million in housing benefit and the £158,000 in council tax refund and discount that was awarded in December. And I can announce tonight that we'll be doing this again to ensure that all residents in this borough, wherever possible, receive the help and support they need in difficult times, because we've got some coming. Now, the closer working relationship means we can now respond more quickly to the rollout of the universal credit and the consequences associated with it, because there are some. The government has recently listened to the Labour Party and has had to make some concessions in relationship to the initial payments, but they have not gone far enough, and consequently we expect significant problems in the future. So we know this is happening, and for us it was really important that our third sector partners that actually help us to work with residents so they receive the financial support and the advice they need. So we wanted to try and help some of our third sector partners deal with this on a more sustainable basis. So for the very first time, we can let you know that we've introduced some longer term contracts for our main partners such as CAB. So we no longer have to reapply every year for funding for advice. We've now given them a 3-year contract with a possibility for 2-year rollover. That's 5 years. That for them and that for our residents is really important. That means they can keep staff for longer, they can plan further, and hopefully that will bring some sustainability for that service that we use there. So I wanted to touch on some of the work we've been doing with our homelessness cases. I think I've mentioned this before, I'm going to touch on it again. In 2016-17, our housing options team actually prevented just short of 5,000 homelessness cases. For this year, we're up to 3,600, and that's for the first 3 quarters of this year, with similar numbers of prevented cases by the year end. Importantly, we embarked on a different regime, if you like, a different process of helping with rough sleepers. And we identified 54 cases of rough sleepers, or people asking for money in town centres. I can now tell you that 30 cases within 54 cases have now been closed, with the majority of people being rehoused, and some of the others and no longer require accommodation. But we know it's a really, really complex piece of work, and each case is uniquely individual to them with a complex set of problems. So we know there's a lot of work to do. That's why we've got a holistic service now set up to not just to deal with the fact that they know where to sleep at night, but to deal with the underlying factors about why they are where they are, what services they need, what help they need to put them back on their feet and get back into society. We'll continue to work on that and hopefully make that a success, and I'll bring regular updates on that. So just to close, Mr Mayor, because I've no intention to go on, my priority this year in housing will be mitigate the effect of universal credit to the council finances and those individuals affected by it, work with the third sector to announce our welfare reform services by having a housing forum where we can talk regularly over the year about issues that are concerned with those less well off than ourselves and vulnerable, prevent homelessness and rough sleeping, and provide more housing that is affordable for all, rented or otherwise. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, for giving the opportunity to talk about the achievements and priorities within the resources and reform portfolio. First of all, and I think this is really good news for the borough, and it's something I've talked about in this chamber previously, is the importance of reducing digital exclusion for our residents. And it's really pleasing to hear that the digital exclusion rate in Wigan has been downgraded from medium to low, where low is better, on the UK Consumer Digital Index of 2017. And this really is testament to the work that's been delivered within the council since the launch of our digital strategy in 2015. And it's a really big step forward because in 2015, the initial assessment that we did identified that many of our citizens, particularly adults, had limited digital skills. Children also have limited access to equipment and resources outside of school to access the digital world. We also need to remember that digital inclusion brings many benefits in an increasingly digital by default world. From applying for jobs, to being able to access things like cheaper online energy deals. And it's really important for us as a council, and the reason it's a big priority for us in our deal for the future, is increasingly our services will be digital, and will be further digital by default. That's because they are more agile. Residents can do things 24 hours a day instead of waiting for an office to open. We don't need to sit on a phone line waiting to get through. But also, it is cheaper for us to manage our services in that way and deliver the savings that sadly we have to make. We're also a pioneering authority for the Duke of York's IDEAS scheme, and this supports residents and staff alike to learn digital and enterprise skills and showcase their achievements to potential employers by winning what are called digital badges. I have had a go myself, but due to my other cabinet role commitments, I've still got a little bit more work to do, but I will continue to do that. So that's digital. The second thing I want to talk about, and I think this particular aspect demonstrates the real work and value that staff across the Resources and Customer Transformation Directorates perform, in that they act as enablers and supporting our other directorates and my cabinet colleagues in delivering their elements of the deal. So I'm not going to labour this point because my colleague Councillor Cunliffe touched on it in his speech. But what we've done is we've rolled out place-based working, as Councillor Cunliffe talked about, and established our multi-agency safeguard hubs. And just as a reminder, this started off as a pilot scheme in my own ward, incidentally, in Plattbridge, and it's been rolled out this year to a borough-wide approach, using the 7 service delivery footprints across the borough. We've appointed SDF service delivery footprint manager roles. That's an investment in our staff. They were operating, connecting staff from different agencies together, understanding local community needs, and convening huddles
as professionals to review and share cases and to resolve issues as quickly as possible. The third thing I want to touch on is our staff. Our staff are our most important resource in this council. They drive forward the political priorities that are set by the leader, deputy leader, cabinet colleagues and us as members. So it's really important that we support them because their jobs are getting increasingly difficult because there are less of them and there are more risks and issues that they need to tackle. So it's really pleasing this year that we've rolled out the Be Wigan Managers behaviours and launched a new recruitment website, which I'll come on to in a second. But the new managers' behaviours build on the Be Wigan behaviours that were rolled out for all our staff in the previous years. We need our managers to have those Be Manager Wigan behaviours because they inspire, they care about our staff and engage with our staff and help them be the best that they can be, and therefore our council be the best that it can be. "95% of our managers have visited the Be Wigan Manager experience this year, and 97% of those attended, rated the support they get to the best managers and supervisors as good or excellent. So it's real evidence that that is working and helping the council to drive forward its priorities. The HR teams within the council have been instrumental in launching the Greater.jobs website. For those that don't know, this is a northwest-wide recruitment website for staff who want to work in councils and other associated agencies. Helps us refine and improve our recruitment processes and make them more efficient. But most importantly, it's a tool that enables us to ensure that we recruit the right staff to help us take forward our Wigan values into the future. I will briefly mention, and it's something that my colleague Councillor Halliwell has touched on, is staff have worked incredibly hard over many years to improve the performance of our benefit services. Very much been driven forward by Councillor Halliwell, but staff in the customer services teams have been instrumental in helping that be delivered on the ground, and that's seen a 25-day reduction in average benefit processing times, which is incredibly important for people who are relying on those benefits to survive. In terms of priorities within my area in the next 12 months, I'm supported through the budget. Innovative technology is really important. Improve our services both within the council, but also to support our people through enablement, as Councillor Cunliffe talked about, to have independent and healthy lives. We'll continue to improve digital engagement. We'll continue to drive forward the amount of people who have the skills that are needed to get the jobs, the high quality jobs that the Deputy Leader has talked about encouraging in the borough. So we need to upskill our workforce across the borough to make that happen, and we'll continue to do that. We want to make sure that the minimum number of people are digitally excluded, and we will continue to drive that forward. Place-based working will continue to be embedded and further enhance the work that's being delivered across the borough. And our financial assessment and collection teams and resources, I want to seek further opportunities to integrate, trying to make the customer journey simpler for residents when they need our support, and certainly we need to make payments. We're going to make our back office processes as efficient as we can, and we're going to look again at how we manage our debt recovery processes to make them asset-based approach. In terms of our staff, we will continue to embed the Wigan behaviours and the asset-based approach in our workforce, delivering our Wigan workforce plan, working in partnership with other public sector organisations across the borough to support further work in Startwell, the Healthy Wigan Partnership and place-based working, which I touched on earlier on. We're going to continue to invest in our workforce, support them to be the best that they can be, and provide them with every opportunity to come up with those ideas that they've already demonstrated tonight that are taking this council forward in the right way.
So I'd just like to place on record my thanks to all the staff across the Customer Transformation Resources Directorates for all the work they do, both delivering the core work, but also that work they deliver in improving services and supporting the wider council. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Stephen. Are these recommendations seconded? Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am pleased to say that the team working on community and family safety has been working hard, and we are trying new and innovative ways to tackle the challenges at hand. I would like to mention our achievements, and one of our achievements is Operation Encompass. Since we launched this operation, we have received 2,000 notifications of incidents of domestic abuse involving a child that has been reported to school. This enables schools to have a better understanding of what is happening in a child's life, so they are better equipped to provide a much better level of support. As we all know, the domestic abuse was on top of our agenda, as figures for domestic abuse in Wigan were 4 times higher than the national average. But I am proud to say that we are tackling the problem head on. Another achievement is launch of a victim abuse hub. We have launched a multi-agency, very dynamic safeguarding hub for victims of domestic abuse and victims of other crimes as well. Now, any victim who will report any abuse to the police will receive the support they need. We are trying to investigate the causes underlying this domestic abuse and the culture of domestic abuse in our local authority, and we are trying to tackle that causes as well. Another achievement is a successful delivery of Hate Crime Week in February, and we are trying to refresh our approach in building stronger communities and more partnership with our different agencies. On our priorities, raising public awareness of the scale and depth of domestic abuse in the local authority, and we are trying to strengthen our partnership with our different agencies in challenging the behaviour and the culture that is underlying this evil. Our second priority is reviewing and refreshing the local response to prevent agenda in the light of national guidance, the GM Naval Programme and local circumstances, and we are trying to focus on having community cohesion that is deep-rooted in our communities. Our third priority is strengthening the council response to antisocial behaviour, dealing with its impact on individuals and communities, and addressing the root causes of antisocial behaviour, and we will remain committed to deliver safer families and communities in Wigan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a council, we've been redefining our approach to mitigate the impacts of climate change. We're actively working to improve both air quality and manage our carbon footprint, striving to create a greener borough. Mr. Mayor, we've created the Wigan Air Quality Steering Group, working with a wide range of services and identifying areas that can be improved. We are an active member within the Greater Manchester Combined Authority and are able to influence strategies and policy. Working in partnership and aligning objectives is crucial. Good air quality will continue to be the focus for the coming year. We also have a commitment with regards to the Eco Schools, one of which received an award in Whitesborough last year. A particular interest striving forward for promotion of public transport, encouraging active transport such as cycling and walking. better management of our roadworks and traffic flows, and being more responsive to situations as they arise. Encouraging employers to adopt more flexible working patterns. And of course, our green spaces will continue to be a focus of the In Bloom competition. Wigan's Borough In Bloom programme continues to be a real strength and something we can all be proud of. Last year there were more entries and more awards. We actually won 33. We want to continue to go from strength to strength and do everything better this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I'm the last, so hopefully it's not the least, but hopefully I can try and outline some of the issues that we've managed to achieve this year in leisure and public health. And when I was asked to take on the responsibility, I was absolutely delighted, because I think there can't be anything more important than trying to improve the health of the people that we represent. And I think that if you look at some of the achievements that are contained up there, and the list could be a lot bigger than that. And I think when you look at that list, just read through it. Because the reality is that in terms of the practicalities of some of the things that's been achieved, is the very people that we represent and who sit in here, the health of those people are improving. And the quality of health is improving as well. And bearing in mind where we started off 10, 15, 20 years ago, I think we've made some tremendous achievements in terms of those up there. I'll just give you 2 or 3 more statistics that might help to give an idea of the achievements we're making in terms of public health. The hospital stays for alcohol-related harm are reduced from 2358 in 2014-15 to 2192 in 15-16. What does that mean? It means the second year the numbers have decreased and the gap between Wigan and the England average has reduced significantly since 2013-14. So it's not just the ones that you've got up there in terms of achievements. Another statistics on childhood vaccination programs achieved 95% herd immunity, including MMR and children in care. What does that mean? Better than England for both these stats. And some other realities we've got is that 55 primary schools, 18 nurseries are now doing the Daily Mile. Many others have been perhaps doing it. That's over 12,000 children involved every day. And having responsibility for inspiring healthy lifestyles, if those are people who are regularly visiting Hay Hall, must have seen the tremendous changes and benefits and improvements over the last 2 to 3 years. There's been a huge increase in visitor numbers. In fact, one of the biggest problems they've got is having enough car parks to put everybody who's attending there. If you look at the facilities there, it's not just a Wigan venue and a Wigan area venue, it's become a regional venue. And hopefully it's going to become a national venue. And we need to move on from that and move on to Pennington, Flash and other areas in terms of the improvements that we've actually managed to achieve. So the priorities you can see there, we've got the deal for health and wellness, it's phase 3, it's the heart of Wigan. And that means that in terms of heart disease, stroke, cancer are the main killers. And so the behavioural risk factors continue to be physical inactivity, excessive alcohol consumption, tobacco use and poor diet. That's the areas that we're going to continue to focus on. In fact, there was a minister who was given an address to a local government association conference last week. He couldn't make it because of the bad weather. And within his 15-minute speech, twice in the first 10 minutes, he was talking about the Wigan deal. And this is part and parcel of the Wigan deal, as well as all the other achievements you've heard tonight. All the deal is doing is delivering in terms of benefits and improvements, and the backdrop of all the cuts that we've had in local government. So the second thing we've got there is in terms of leisure and creative experiences. In Wigan, those proportion of adults who are physically active has increased at a greater rate than seen nationally. The biggest increase seen between the latest 2 time periods, and compared to the nearest neighbours, Wigan has shown the highest rate of improvement. You know yourselves about the walking football, the Daily Mile we talked about, and getting Wigan Borough on the move. I think look out for the publicity in terms of Wellfest in July, which is now an integral part of delivering a number of activities for people to get active. And those of you around the borough, you can always look at Howe Bridge, you can look at Ashton, you can look at the Life Centre here, you can look at the improvements that are going to be up in Standish. and Pennington Flats was mentioned earlier. So all those things there in the backdrop of the cutbacks of local authorities, and we've been dealt with a harder blow than many other people in the country. That's us improving things. As well as all the libraries that didn't shut, that's the benefits that we are continuing to deliver because of the policies that we've delivered for the Labour Group over the last 10, 15, 20 years. The third thing is the delivery of a new sexual health service. There's a handover to the providers, it's now gone smoothly, and that commenced on Friday the 2nd of March. And the fourth point we've got there is delivery of new life course structure in the alcohol service. It's been awarded to Adaction, who are successfully delivering significant improvements and in supporting the borough-wide rollout of the communities in charge of the alcohol programme in partnership with the residents of Hagg Fold. And as we said earlier, the link with Greater Manchester and health and social care is an integral part of this area of leisure and public health. So we are working very, very closely with our partners to try and deliver the best things that we can in terms of public health. If you've lived in Wigan, then you've seen improvements in your life expectancy and the quality of your life, and that's what we'll continue to do. But we can't do it without the professionalism, the commitment, and the proactive initiatives that people take who work for us. And without them, we wouldn't be where we are, and all those achievements and priorities wouldn't be able to get delivered. So I'd like to publicly thank them tonight, and hopefully next year we can see even more achievements and improvements in terms of the people we represent. Thanks very much.
I think members can see the enthusiasm and pride that our cabinet colleagues have in the work they do, and they make sure you know everything they did. Probably some of you can still be going at the level. Okay.
Well, next to the Rugby League club that is reaching out to supporters with dementia. Wigan Warriors have set up a Rugby Memories group where fans of the team meet up once a week to watch an old game and reminisce about the glory days.
The club hopes the scheme will also help tackle loneliness in the community. Chris Hall went along to this week's meeting where a very special guest dropped by.
I first went when I was 17 to watch Wigan, and I'm 89 now, so I've certainly friends of you.
Mary and Lily share more than a love of rugby league. Both have dementia and met after losing their husbands, but they found comfort remembering the other men in their lives, those wearing cherry and white.
Favourite one was Billy Boston, Eric Ashton, and Johnny Morrison. Do you remember Johnny Morrison?
Reminiscing about their favourite players isn't just nostalgic, it's therapeutic. Here at the Third Clement Cafe, in the heart of Wigan Warriors HQ, a Rugby Memories group is open to anyone with and without dementia to protect against loneliness and social withdrawal.
They really come to life when they start to tell their stories about when they first started to watch the rugby. We have the old programmes, we have old photographs. Today some of the ladies brought their own photographs and shared those with the group. So it just brings those memories to life.
Especially when their favourite player, John Bateman, pops in to say hello. And invites them to watch his next match from the comfort of a corporate box.
I've never seen you now. And I've never was prepared.
That was brilliant. Best day of my life. Never forget it. Never forget it, will we?
Can't wait for the 11th. We're in the box, aren't we? I'm going to go there. I'm not going to be drinking tea. I can tell you that.
They've cheered Wigan to dozens of trophies, but those memories are slowly being taken away. Dementia is growing in the UK. 850,000 have it now. By the time John Bateman is in his 30s, 1 million of us will have it. Enough to fill the DW Stadium 40 times over. So the Warriors are sending their young players to these sessions to learn how to care for those with dementia and to get tips on tackling technique.
It was more tackling than anybody in rugby league. For goodness sake, get the legs, you can't go without the legs.
Yeah, she's telling us to pull the legs because we can't move out of the legs, so I'll have to go back to training and tell the lads. So, yeah, we're good to come and see people like this to see how much it means to them, just to put a smile on my face and sit. And just like to turn around and say it was fantastic and one of the best stations I've. You know what I mean? It means a lot and it's fantastic to see people like that.
John Bateman is our favourite player.
Oh, is it?
Rugby, when they go to watch him, he's in the memory-making business to keep the smiles on these faces. Chris Hall, ITV News, Wigan.
What a great... Now, Phil's come.
Okay, sorry about that, Jim. Obviously, I didn't intend to take your advice about alcohol. So that's the self-funded scheme. That's why I was on. Finally, from me, Mr. Mayor, just to thank you for the people who helped put this budget together. Obviously, Paul McKevitt, his team, Tony, Jane, colleagues, really helpful. The best finance team in Greater Manchester, so we got some really good advice and support, so thanks for that. Obviously, the Chief Exec and all the staff who get engaged in the deal. As Carl said, really it's our most important asset and do that. As David said, obviously 5 years ago we know the deal was going to work, but you trusted us. You thought we didn't want to do what the alternatives seemed to be, and it's paid off big time. So thanks for the belief that you gave us there. But mainly it's thanks to the public and the community of Wigan who have embraced what we're doing and made it such a success. So thank you to that. So. On that note, again, no increase in our general taxation, continue to do the deal, reforming services, investing in towns and the economy, improving roads, new initiatives for housing. So I move the appropriate motions and I move the budget.
Are these recommendations seconded?
They are, Mr. Mayor, I'll second them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Winstanley, you've indicated that you wish to move an amendment to the budget at this point. Mr. McKevitt, is this a balanced budget?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I've spoken to Councillor Winstanley and this amendment will be a balanced budget.
Thank you. Councillor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Before I start my formal response to the Leader and the Cabinet, I'd like to thank Paul McKevitt for spending time briefing me on the refund budget, enabling me to put forward this amendment tonight, which would lead to a balanced budget. Now, as a betting man, I've got my eye on Cheltenham next week. Now, I'm not putting any money on this amendment going through, so I'm going to save my money for next week for the first race. But that's not going to stop me putting it forward. And this is the 13th budget meeting that I've been present at. And as an opposition councillor, it's sometimes the easiest debate to take part in, because I can stand here and say, that's a load of rubbish, we do it so much differently and you're totally off kilter. But I'm not going to do that, because at the end of the day, my job as opposition is to take a responsible approach to opposition in Wigan. I don't agree with everything that you've done, not necessarily the way you've done it, but that doesn't mean that we can't acknowledge the progress that you have made in terms of moving forward. And I think it was quite right to take those decisions early on in 2010, because I think you realised that it wasn't just going to be 5 years, that you wouldn't necessarily get a Labour government that would come over the hill and give you a lot of money and bail you out. So you did the right thing at the right time, and I do recognise that, and I think that's absolutely right. So what I wanted to do before I formally move my amendments is just pick up some of the points that's been put forward in the debate. And firstly, I welcome the 0% rise on council elements of council tax. My job tonight has been made a little bit more difficult because my councillor colleagues in Bolton, the Conservative group, were admonishing the Labour group in Bolton for not doing what Wigan have done. So as I came to prepare my speech, that made it a little bit more difficult, but I think I found a way around it. And I agree with the Leader when he says council tax is pretty unfair because the poorest sections of society pay a bigger proportion of their income. I think he's absolutely right. However, he's making the exact same point that I made year after year after year when I was leader of the Conservative group in this council chamber. And unfortunately for council taxpayers here in Wigan. The Leader had a different view in those days. And I'm old enough to remember when we did have a Labour government. And it might be a while before you get another one as well. And in 1997, a Bandy property paid £628.65. When Labour left office in 2010, actually, the same person in Wigan will be paying a whopping £1,157. Council tax had virtually doubled in that period. We saw inflation busting rises of 6.5, didn't stop there, 7.9, didn't stop there, 8.9, and they're only the highest ones. It went year after year after year. The only time it stopped was 2010, when we had a Conservative government and they came forward with a mechanism to halt those rises. And interestingly enough, on the council element of it, the only point that we had an increase over the last few years was when we didn't have an election. I'm not cynical, but I'm just pointing that out. However, and it's a shame that Andy Burnham didn't listen to your wise words as well about council tax before he launched his raid on council taxpayers at Greater Manchester with his £8 precept for Bandy properties. And as the Leader quite rightly pointed out, that will be a little bit less for Band A and Band C, but a little bit more for those few properties that we've got in the highest band. So it's a pity he didn't follow the lead from Steve Rotherham in Liverpool, who's decided he didn't need to put in a precept this year. So we have a Labour leader in Liverpool who's not putting up tax, which is somewhat of a yeah, that's right, yeah. We've obviously not got Dexy there anymore. And of course the Leader does point out about council tax, but as he well knows, anyone that meddles in the finance of local government suffers harshly at the ballot box. And he knows as well as I do that we've gone through the 70s, we've gone through the 80s, and we massively needed a re-evaluation. And of course he tried it, there was uproar, so therefore we then brought in the community church, there was uproar, and that's when we ended up with the council tax. They also tried a re-evaluation in Wales as well, that didn't go down too very well. So I'll be interested to see what the Leader's view on council tax is. Chris Williamson from the Labour team in Parliament has got his own ideas, he wants to see it doubled. So I'm sure that will go down well, no doubt another one that's been sacked by Jeremy. And I do acknowledge that increasing council tax to pay for social care is not an ideal solution, and does highlight that we do need fundamental reform. There's no getting away from that. As a nation, we need a mature debate about how we fund social care in the future, and this needs to happen sooner rather than later. And it should also be noted how much progress Wigan has made in changing the service delivery model and also ensuring that those savings are delivered. And I pay tribute to what's happened in terms of how you've actually delivered that as well. And now we're again shown as an example to other authorities in terms of how that can be done in one of the most challenging areas. I'm also pleased to see the amount of waste being recycled, which is helping to delay the civics for the budget as part of the deal, and ensure that we avoid paying that landfill tax imposed upon us by the EU bully boys. So I'm pleased that we are increasing those recycling rates. However, I do have a number of concerns about the litter of fly tipping. I'm not as sanguine as the Labour members tonight who spoke about it. I think we need to make sure, certainly from information I'm getting from people, is that we're seeing quite a bit more of that. And I know the figures that you were quoting earlier on were obviously a trend. Now, hopefully that doesn't start to spike, and we need to keep an eye on that. But we need to make sure that those improvements in recycling aren't at the expense of more fly tipping and more litter across the borough. So I also welcome the decision to bring back housing into the council, which is not only showing a major saving for the council, but it's also increasing accountability and giving council more control over its own housing stock, which obviously is a fundamental part of the deal. Now, I'm not going to rise to the debate that Councillor Halliwell sent me. He's been an icon quote, so I'll just give you a quote. Jeremy Corbyn himself described housing during the last Labour government as bringing misery. I will just leave that there. Nothing else needs to be said. Jeremy has said it, so therefore you all need to pay notice of what he said. So, digital strategy. I agree, we need to change the way that we deliver things, but increasingly I am getting more and more concerns from residents about them feeling left behind, and it's important we take people with us, because delivering a deal is about ensuring that it delivers to everyone in the community, not just those that are digitally literate. And absolutely right, we're upskilling people and ensuring that they get more services and skills to be able to access those services, but we need to make sure that we take everyone with us, not just those that are capable of taking those opportunities. And ensuring that part of the deal is that more non-council organisations undertake more in the community. And I know that the report states that an implication for the council in its financial calculations are the number of businesses being classified as charities. And that classification is subject, obviously, to an automatic 80% relief on business rates, with the remaining 20% being subject to local discretion. And I do know some charities here in Wigan that have been refused the 20% local discretion, despite not having always had previously. And when it's questioned, they're simply given no reasons, and it's therefore difficult for an organisation to then appeal against it. And perhaps what we might need to do is look at those charities that have had it previously and say, well, we're doing the deal, is there anything that you can do to help us? And then you would qualify for that 20%. So let's be more proactive, rather than just going to people saying, you don't qualify for this year, how we can actually encourage them then to take part of that. Because that minimum amount of that 20% of that charity, what they put back into the community, I'm sure will pay us dividends in the future in terms of helping local residents. And it is with the deal in mind that I turn to my amendment to the budget. And my amendment is to ring-fence the share dividend of £2 million into a fund for investing in our local communities and for town centre redevelopment. Over the last few years, we've seen the local council tax base rise with an increase in the number of houses in the borough. These wards are the ones that have borne the brunt of the changes, and these are the ones that are paying most for council tax into the council. So this funding will be for those communities. This funding will be used for town centre development as well, outside of the main town centres of Wigan and Leigh, as they've allocated funding in place that we've already heard. And as proposed in this amendment is very much in the spirit of the deal. And this will be an opportunity for this council to recognise the concerns of these communities and put additional resources to ensure that they are sustainable moving forward. And it would work entirely like SIF funding. Communities would come forward with their projects and their plans to bid for it, so it is managed in an appropriate way. So I hope that members across the chamber tonight will back our amendment and invest in our communities for the future. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I'll reserve the right to speak later.
Clearly, do you accept the amendment?
No, unless I'll respond to it.
Do any members wish to speak on the amendment? No. Any other members wish to speak on the amendment? Councillor Ward.
It seems particularly inappropriate, the amendment, when we prior to that, you made a case about the poorest members of our community and actually acknowledged that council taxes is regressive. And then you go on to say, but we'll spend it in our most affluent end users. Well, I can't see any. I look forward to hearing the logic of that, except perhaps if you feel that they're the only places where you've got any support. But I don't understand the logic.
The only other members on the amendment, that is? No? Right, Councillor, will you reserve the right to speak for a second?
I'm quite happy to second it, and if we're ready to vote, let anyone else wants to speak.
Councillor Sutton?
No, thank you.
Right, I will now move to the vote on the amendment.
I do want to comment on Councillor Winston. There's a moment. I'll come back if I can on the general points you made on the budget, just talk about the amendment. And I think I'll just take the amendment in the spirit that it was intended rather than the specific wording. I don't think it was intended to say we should give money towards the maybe more conservative and higher council tax in, but what about, I actually think, I understand what you're trying to achieve, but I think in a sense it's the cart before the horse. Rather than supporting this amendment, Councillor Wilson, what I'll promise we'll do, and in a sense, earlier this afternoon, we were doing the same in London, I think stage one is not actually to put money into a place, but actually stage one is to find out what you want, what's the possibility. So what we need in these places is the planning exercise, first of all, that will establish what the needs of that particular area, consult with the local people on that, and hopefully get a partnership with businesses engaged and so on. Get that done, then we'll see what the needs are, then we can see what needs to be funded. And I think that's the way we should approach this. So hopefully, rather than since I can't accept the funding because I don't believe that's the way we do it, but I understand what he's trying to say, that we need to share, we are across the borough, we need to make sure every part of the borough is doing as well as it possibly can, and we'll commit to that master planning process, working with local members, working with local communities, and we'll try and get it done in that way, and then we'll see what the financial consequences are. So,
do any other members wish to speak?
So, Mr. Mayor, can I just come in on that, because that obviously wraps that up. If that is the spirit in which it is intended, then I've just consulted. We will withdraw that amendment, obviously caveated with what the leader has promised us tonight. So, in that spirit of where we are at the moment, I will withdraw the amendment, and then we can hopefully move forward with a solution that will help those communities that we need to invest in.
Thank you, Councillor Winstanley. We now go back to the original motion. Are there any other comments on this motion? No? Sorry,
thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to speak. Just a couple of things that the Cabinet members have mentioned in tonight's meeting. I know that in the environment, one of the priorities was dog family, yet the council have withdrawn the bags. You can't pick them up anymore in the libraries. So how is that making that a priority when the facility has been withdrawn from the residents? Also in the digital, I've had a number of elderly residents who feel that they're being excluded because they don't know how to use computers. When they ring up the council, being told, no, you need to go onto the computers. So we have a number of residents who are coming to us in the libraries, and we're sitting with them and completing forms for them in the library because they don't know how to do it. They don't want to learn. Some of these elderly residents, they just, I've done my bit, I just want something doing. And that's the kind of thing that they're saying to us. So we're having to report it or show them how to use it, but half the time they don't want us to show it, they just want to be able to ring somebody and say, this is my problem, can you sort it? And they're being told, no, they've got to report it on the computer, which is leaving the elderly residents behind in the borough. That's just a couple of things that major concerns of themselves. Also, with regards to the environment as well, the Black Litter Bins budget I've asked about is the budget that we're given for the following this financial year is 16,000 to install black litter bins. Now, to install one litter bin and purchase a litter bin, it's £400. Now, if I got by the 16,000, that's 40 litter bins for the whole of the borough. That is nowhere near enough litter bins to install in this borough. I mean, I rang up 2 weeks ago to try and get 7 installed in the ward. Got told, no, sorry, no budget, no money, we can't do it. Yet we're crying out for it, we need it for all the litter that is being dropped, especially when you see the dog filing everywhere as well, and it's being dropped 20, 30 steps away from a litter bin as well, to just try and get the litter bins that are installed in other wards, in other boroughs, where they've got the small ones which is attached to the lampposts. So it's just a tiny one, so if the walking dog can put it there rather than attach it to a tray. So just things like that. I think their budget needs to be increased so that we can try and get rid of the litter problems. Thank you.
Before I ask the leader for something. Sorry. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, it's brilliant to be back. I'm glad I've been allowed in this time. Look, the point I want to make is a lot of the time it comes across as we're having it up. What I'm going to say now with the budget probably isn't the most popular subject, but we are opposition. We've got to oppose. And I will admit, many things in that budget are really good. And the deal funding, there's parts of that are really good. But there is many parts of the deal funding where as opposition councillors we have massive problems. Myself, Councillor Bradley, many residents have got, I'm not going to mention any organisation by name, Mr. Mayor, have got grave concerns about misspending of public money. Should I get that come to me, and let's say it's wrong, would I be doing my job down in and bring that to the officers? We have done that. Now, we found out now that nothing's been done. Councillor Bradley's actually got quite threatening letters, maybe even talking about court action, legal action I should say. We've actually increased that money to that organisation. And secondly, again, I'm not going to make this personal as easy as it would be with recent events, but this organisation, we all know what organisation I'm talking about. Councillor Reid has mentioned, we keep criticising it. There is a massive conflict of interest. Now, I actually had my right to room money suspended for putting it out on Facebook, but the problem is nobody will talk to us. So then it looks like there's a massive problem. The concerns I raise is a top officer in this council allowing the money to go there when the director is the partner of that person and a former Labour councillor. And many people believe that to be a conflict of interest. But what do? You act like North Korea. You shut us down. You say we're causing trouble, we're doing this, you increase the money, don't look into anything. And this is why you have the reputation of the worst council of the land. This is why people believe it's true, Councillor Smith. Most people think this is the most corrupt council there is. Now, we can tap ourselves on the back and say, what a fantastic job we're doing, and we can warn about the deal. But if you go to that street, find the first person you come across and ask them about the deal, they'll laugh. And they'll smile and they'll say, we're in council, we're all passing into a brown envelope. So, it's funny, but we're obviously doing something wrong. And do you know what I think it is? I don't necessarily think it is a lot of the time that there is corruption. It's the way you react to it. You react by shut down opposition. We won't have that. We're going against the status quo. Let's take today, for instance. We get here to find out that after being told first come, first serve, that there's now a list. My partner's actually sat outside there for 2 hours because even though there was nobody up there, they couldn't come in. And the truth is, you didn't like these people for it because you knew they was going to oppose you like we did with the GMSF. So you simply pull a little trick, everybody has to turn around and go, let's face the problem. If we ask a question, we may sound stupid, give us the information, then we know there's no corruption going on. But when you hide it from us, it looks awful. And I'm sure Councillor Smith will come back and say what a bad person I am, but just answer the, I agree, I think we were too. But let's just answer the question, give us the information that we ask for. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Beard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to speak on this budget, if I may. Now, many of budgets I've spoken on, and as Councillor Smith keeps telling me, I don't know what I'm talking about, because I don't know where these figures come from. I have received an email saying you can contact the financial officer, talk with Councillor Winston did. I asked for that opportunity. So I didn't make a mistake. Just to clarify our status quo. Now, the figures in the budget on page 27. By the way, I'm on my iPad, so that's in the video. Now, it says here, gross expenditure 2018-19, 835,141,116 pounds. gross income. 268,424 pounds. Then he says estimate. 243,872,692 pounds. Well, that to me on these figures says we can't match our commitments, because we've got an expenditure of 835 million with an income of 591 million, so we've got a shortfall, possibly 243 million. So how can we address what we're doing? Now, obviously, this is the part I really like. What have we got in the bank? Councillor Smith keeps saying, I'm making a mistake. I can't find the correct figures. But it says here, general fund balance, 31st of March, which was 7th of March today. So we'll have in the bank, looking at these figures, 15,831,000 pounds. Are these figures correct? I don't know, but they're in there. They're in here. Anyway, going back to what Councillor Jones said, we're not oppositions, we are councillors. And we are elected councillors. And we are elected to make sure we get value for money for the people who voted us. Now, I've got some figures from all the £500 listed. A lot of information. I only got to up to page 300. Over the page, there was 1,583 pages. Anyway, going back to my problems in my ward, we have lost the Dogfairland banks, as Councillor Furran said. I would like it back, and I'm going to put provisions in this budget, hopefully, to get it back. Now, we're looking at a company called Hopwell Food and Drink, £418,000. Now, I can recall on past budgets that the hospitality, cakes, butties, whatever, has been stopped. But now we find it's still here. Now, if we go back to the original of scrapping that, we can get our budget back for our Dogfairland bags for £18,000. Then we can address the pothole situation. We can buy, we can employ an extra 6 people at £20,000 each, if that's the going rate. That's £120,000. Plus we can buy 3 Ford Transit tipper wagons, they're £26,000 each, obviously £78,000. That gives a total of £198,000. Then the surplus is £202,000 for the running costs of the insurance, buying the tarmac, the whackers and whatever. That will give a better service to a massive problem of potholes. And we all know it's work. Because we went to the street deal seminar, and these little funny houses, every house had a pothole in front of it. Every one, so you know the value is there, you know the problem is there. Hold on.
Councillor Bradley, you've got 5 seconds left. You've got 5 seconds left.
5 seconds. Anyway, we're giving money to all the coaches and professional fees. I mean, Bolton, £14,000.
Councillor.
Another 5 minutes.
You get 5 minutes, you have 5 minutes. Sit down.
Elected councillors will be here.
Do any other members wish to
contribute?
Please. Thank you. Do any other members wish to contribute? No? Before I ask the leader to sum up, Councillor Molyneux, if you have reserved the right to speak, second it, and I invite you to speak on the original motion. No? Leader.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I must say, I shouldn't be surprised by comments to get from members of the council. That was intriguing, I think. I think the issue that Councillor Winston raised his original contribution about litter. It's quite interesting because as part of the deal philosophy, and since the council doesn't create litter, it's the people who throw it away. So what's really, we want to change behaviour. It's not just a question of, you know, falling up there and doing that. We need to get people to change behaviour. They can just stop doing that. But quite frankly, it's the same with dog owners. If they're irresponsible and don't clean up after the mess after their dogs, so we should stop them doing that and not provide them. We're actually, well, the old few councils left it, we're actually providing dog poo bags. And, you know, let's get dog owners to feel the responsibility. It's their pets, they should look after them properly, and if they don't, we should take appropriate action. So I don't feel we want to put that back into things. I thought Councillor First was a bit rude to people of my generation, which is elderly people who can't use digital stuff. That isn't true at all. That isn't true at all. And all of the services which we provide digital access for, there's other access for people who don't have digital. So it's not 100% digital. If people need to phone up, then they can do so. So that opportunity is still there. It's quite difficult, Mr. Mayor, to take lessons in morality from some people in this chamber. They may be elected councillors, but being elected councillors, there is expected behaviour both within the council chamber and outside. And people who don't live up to that can't come here and give us lectures. Just remind you that we did unquote there about what the district auditor said about the council. We were satisfied the council put in place proper arrangements to ensure economy, efficiency and effectiveness in its use of resources. So professional auditors are quite happy. They're not just trying to smear, as some people in this room are. The financial health of this authority, again from the auditors, is very good. So I'm satisfied with that. If you think we've got a problem, report it to the auditors and they will give a report back. But we don't accept. All you're trying to do is simply smear officers of the council, smear individuals because you don't think they have back. And how can you, the things that you do, and the things that, well, you may not like me, but I've not been to a court to improve my behaviour.
Personal time. We were told at the beginning of the meeting we were not allowed to bring up what had happened in the court, yet Councillor Smith has brought that up. And we were told we were not allowed to bring that up.
Mr. Burke, point of order also. Batty, what can I give him back? And make a loser.
It's a different court case to refer to.
No, I don't know he was. It was only one court case that everyone knows about.
Can we move to the vote, please?
Yes, should we start?
Please use the electronic voting system as a recorded vote must be taken on this item. All